Hey guys, it is Airsoft Steve, and today we're going to be going over the top 10 cheap upgrades that you can do for your airsoft rifle right now. So, for this video, we are going to first be going over the external upgrades you can do for your gun, and then we'll move into the internal upgrades. There are more internal upgrades that I have chosen than external, simply because externals do tend to be a lot more expensive than internals. So, and we're trying to keep this video kind of on the cheap side for you. Some things will cost a little bit, but I do recommend that you usually get some of these items if they really do help the performance of your gun. So, starting off with the externals, for the number 10 best upgrade for your airsoft rifle, I have chosen a vertical grip. So this really does come up to preference. You really don't need one to play, but I have found it just to be useful to be able to quickly grab something, and it does help to stabilize your guns to get those quick shots off if you really need to. And you can find these for $10, maybe even $5 if you're lucky. So this really isn't a big hit in your funds, and it's kind of cool just to have on your gun. It's not necessary, but you can have it. Okay guys, for number 9, I have chosen you either get a red dot or some sort of iron sights like I have on this gun here, which is the ICS Transform 4, which comes with iron sights. If your gun already has iron sights, you really don't need to get different iron sights or even try to get a red dot. And honestly, I prefer iron sights over red dots. They're usually cheaper, and honestly, they do the same job, and they don't really have the risk of getting shot out. But if you do want to go with one, I definitely recommend some sort of red dot. You don't have to get any specific model. This is Replica EOTech, for example. But they do add to the look of the gun, and you can find some that are pretty cheap. You can even find some that are like $20. That's a pretty good deal for red dot, and they really do just help with acquiring your target faster. And if you have them sighted in correctly, you can engage targets that are a closer distance pretty easily and not have to figure out where your BBs are shooting first. So they definitely help. They're not necessary, but I do personally like to run them. Okay guys, for number 9, this item could be considered internal or external, but I've decided to add it into the external simply because it doesn't actually go physically into the gun. So this is a battery. Battery is probably one of the easiest upgrades you can do to your gun. So if you're just a beginner, you may be using something like an 8.4 volt battery, which really isn't going to give you that great of performance. So I recommend either stepping up to a 9.6 or 7.2 volt LiPo, and if your gun can handle it, please use this with caution because it can cause a lot of issues in your gun if your gun isn't already beefed up on the inside to be able to handle this. But you can go for an 11.1 LiPo, which will greatly increase your rate of fire and your trigger response, which is awesome. Is really awesome upgrade, and doesn't cost that much in retrospect. So something like this costs you maybe $20, $30, and it's pretty much gonna. So something like this is probably gonna cost you anywhere from $15 to $30, depending on what type of battery you're getting, and really will help the upgrade of your gun. And kind of a sub part of this, I actually do highly recommend, if you are comfortable or if you have a tech near you that can do it, is changing your battery connector to Dean's. It's not necessary, but it really does help your gun getting rid of some of that resistance, so that, basically all in layman's terms, all the energy from the battery, or almost all the energy from the battery, is going straight into the gun instead of being caught in the connectors and turning into heat, instead of actually going to the motor to help your gun actually work. So if Dean's connectors definitely have a lot less resistance than Tamiya connectors, and that will help with battery life in the end, because you're not wasting as much battery to actually get the motor turning to get it to fire. So that is a good upgrade, and if you go to Fox Airsoft, for example, they do this for $5. It's really cheap, and it really does help. Alright guys, so now we're going to be moving into internal upgrades. So these, some of these you may not be comfortable doing it to yourself, so definitely if you aren't comfortable and you're just a beginner, definitely go take it to a tech, tell them what you want to do, and they'll be happy to do it for you, I guarantee it. But first thing, in the number 6 slot for internals, we have a spring. Spring is probably one of the main upgrades that people are going to do to their guns. It's pretty easy. If you have a quick change spring system, you literally just pop off the back, take out the spring guide, and you usually can just pop in a new spring. So that's super easy to do. If you don't have a quick change spring system, definitely go take it to a tech, have them do it for you. And yeah, so you can either lower your FPS if you want to go play maybe CPB, or you're shooting too hot for your local field, or if you want to beef up your spring to shoot a higher FPS, if you really kind of want to push the limits at your field, you can do that. But be mindful that if you do use a heavier spring, it is going to take a bigger toll on your gun. So if you're going really high, so like I'd say anything M120 plus, definitely be sure that your internals are ready for that, mainly your piston, and sometimes even your gears, they can strip if they have too much pressure on them. So definitely, if you're going to upgrade to a heavier spring, be sure to consult with like a tech to be sure that your internals can handle it. If not, you may have to upgrade some other things like your piston, your gears, and even your motor. So these things are really cheap. You can get pretty much any of them for about $10, so it's really not going to hurt your budget all that much. Alright, moving into our number 5 slot, I have something that basically will cost you maybe like $2. This is called shimming. So basically what you're going to do, you're going to buy these little shims here. They're basically these tiny washers, and what you do, you put them on the gears of your gun in order to limit the amount of movement they can have inside the gearbox. So I'll demonstrate here. So basically when you have your gearbox here, if you have no shims, when your gears are turning, they're going to be moving up and down while they're turning, and that really just doesn't help with the actual performance of the gun. So basically what shims are going to do, if you think about it, if your gearbox is like this, it's going to limit the up and down movement that your gear can do while it's turning, so that it's all of the energy is going through the gears. It's not being released by them bouncing, and it's gonna help with things like trigger response, and it's overall just gonna make your gun sound quieter because your gears aren't grinding as much. So shimming also helps with the connection between the gears, so that you're having the most connection between two gears. So the main thing with shimming is that you want your gear to move freely in a circle, but you do not want it to move up and down. So you want it to spin basically like it would without any shims, but without the up and down movement. Again, this is something where you probably should take it to a tech if you are not comfortable doing it yourself, but is also extremely cheap. Shims should not cost you any more than say $5. There's different sizes of shims for thickness. So definitely go check that out. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube if you want to do it yourself. So you should be able to do it. If you're not comfortable, again, take it to a tech. But overall, that is a very easy upgrade that will seriously help the performance of your gun. Alright guys, so for our number 4 slot, I have chosen something called the motor. You've probably almost guaranteed heard of this part, since it's literally what makes your gun actually function. So definitely upgrading the motor will help with things like trigger response, rate of fire, depending on the type of motor you can either get a torque motor or a speed motor. I almost always will recommend torque motors for any type of build. They just perform better, and you can really choose any spring you want with most torque motors. So for example here, I have a Fox custom motor. These things are like $35, and these probably have about the strongest magnets and have a ton of torque in them. These will seriously help your rate of your trigger response. So if you're using something like a 9.6 or a LiPo with this, it'll definitely boost your gun's performance just like that. The one thing you do want to do, it's also relating back to shimming, you want to make sure that your first gear in your gun is shimmed perfectly to your motor, and that will seriously help with your performance. But again, you can get a motor from anywhere from like $25 if you want to get like an SHS motor, all the way to $50 or even $75 depending on what you're going for. I personally prefer SHS's. SHS high torque motors, I believe they're like $30. ZCI or Fox custom motors. Or if you want to spend a little bit more, I'd go for a Lonex A2 motor. They're one of my favorite motors, but they are on the pricier side. So it really just depends on how much you want to spend. But definitely upgrading your motor will be a good improvement for your gun. Alright guys, moving into your number 3 slot, I have chosen the barrel. So, for example, in my ICS right here, I have upgraded the barrel with a Fox Custom, which is a ZCI rebrand barrel. And let me just say, it has made this gun come from night to day. This barrel seriously has improved the accuracy and range of this gun by so much. It's boosted the FPS because you get better compression with it, and it cost me like $30. So definitely recommend going for that. If you're looking for one, definitely go check out Fox Airsoft for these ones. They are super durable, and they're just awesome barrels. I have loved them so far. Yeah, and they've worked phenomenally. If you really want to go on the expensive end, you can go for something like a Prometheus, which can go from anywhere to like $80. Definitely, I wouldn't say worth the price, but it will give you really good performance if you want to go with the Prometheus. But basically, the Fox Custom, which is ZCI, is a very good alternative to Prometheus. It's similar build material, and it's just basically not as polished as much. So if you're in a budget, definitely go for something like this, which is a ZCI, or even maybe a Mad Bull barrel. It'll definitely help your gun. Just be sure to clean it properly every time you use it, or every other time you use it. Just, you know, maintain it, and it will work wonders for you. Alright guys, so for our number 2 slot, I have chosen a bucking. So basically what this is a little rubber piece that goes on the end of your barrel, and this part will then go into your hop-up unit. And basically how the hop-up unit works, it pushes down with something called a nub, and it'll push down onto here, and it touches the BB just so much in here that it gives the BB a backspin and it gives you more range. But not all buckings are created equal. This one, for example, one of my favorite buckings is a G&G green bucking. These things are like $5. They're a little expensive for a piece of rubber, but let me say guys, these things, buckings, in general, will change the accuracy and range of your gun so much. This gun, or this bucking, has basically turned my ICS into something that's like shooting left and right consistently every time to shooting like a laser beam every shot. I run it in almost all of my guns, and it's just a phenomenal bucking, and it's like $5. On the cheaper end, which is also a phenomenal bucking, is the Lonex 70 degree bucking. It's like $2. Again, just like the G&G Green, it'll help with compression, which will raise your FPS. It'll give you better range, better accuracy, and overall, it's just a really cheap investment that's easy to install, and I'd say 100% worth it. So definitely, if you want to improve the range and accuracy of your gun, go for a new bucking. And if you're really comfortable with it, try doing an R-hop, which I've never actually personally used, but based on what I've seen, gives phenomenal results in the long run. Alright guys, for our number 1 slot, it may be disappointing for some of you, but I'm gonna say this is probably the biggest thing you can do to help out your gun and help out your performance of your gun, and that is using high quality BBs. So if you're a beginner, you may not be using high quality BBs just yet. You may be still buying like Crosman BBs from Walmart, and definitely highly recommend, I'm gonna tell you right now, use high quality BBs. It's gonna improve your accuracy, it's gonna improve your range, and overall, it's gonna be like night and day. So if you're going from Walmart BBs to say like Elite Force, you're going to notice the difference. High quality BBs, they basically have no imperfections, and I don't know what else to say about it. You guys need to be using high quality BBs. That's the number 1 thing you can do for your gun. If you're using like .12s, those can break inside of your new expensive rifle and completely mess up everything. So definitely invest in some good BBs. There are so many brands out there, it doesn't even matter. I have Jag Arms, Crytek, Elite Force, and G&G. All of these are perfect brands. You need to be using at least a .2. I personally only run anything above like a .25 or, so yeah, I don't know what else to say about this, guys. Go buy some good BBs. You will be happy that you did.